I'm Stefan. I'm an Icelandic citizen. I applied for Danish citizenship, but it hasn't gone through yet. It probably will. Uh, I'm a head chef, and a daily manager of Mackey's in downtown Aarhus. Uh, I've been vegan for about almost 6 years. I've been in the vegan party basically since the beginning, and I'm running for local government. I want to make Aarhus green again. It's gonna be good. I want to, get all the diesel fumes and cars and stuff out of the city and create a way better public transportation system. Mass transit is a must for a big city. Uh, Better infrastructure for bicyclists and pedestrians, more green areas in the city center. Yeah, and I want the police to stop giving tickets to people on bikes. Doesn't make any sense. I just got a ticket for riding a bike today. Uh, it blew my mind. But yeah, that's pretty much me. Yeah, that's what I want to do.
So
And of course,
I already have like several questions.
Of
For
course.
example, even though you are as of now not a Danish citizen, you can run for election. That's something for me.
I think to run for local government, you have to have permanent residency in Denmark, and I think you have to have lived in the municipality for 6 months or a year. I think something like that. I'm not quite sure, but it's along those lines.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
There's actually a mayor that's a foreigner in Denmark, in Samsø.
Oh yeah. He's from
Holland.
Belgium, Holland. Yeah, my parents live in Samsø. They voted for him.
Okay. So how long have you been living in Denmark? Actually, at least 5 years or 6 years for applying for citizenship.
I was born in Copenhagen in '87 in Amager, and then I moved to Iceland when I was like 4 and lived there for 2 years. Otherwise, I've been living in Denmark for the most of my life. I've also lived a little bit in Germany and in Brazil, but the last at least 10 years I've lived in Denmark. But I'm a Nordic citizen, so I had different rules for applying. I didn't even have to apply for citizenship. I just had to, declare myself a Danish citizen. So I've actually been a Danish citizen since September, if the paperwork goes through, but the paperwork hasn't gone through yet. So I can't really call myself a Danish citizen, but when I can call myself a Danish citizen, I've been a Danish citizen since September. It's very, it's a very convoluted process to be named a Danish citizen, apparently, because of our racist government and all that.
I'm actually, even from this conversation, I'm getting newer and newer information. Like previously, I also thought that if you were born in Denmark, like as I understood, you were born in Copenhagen, you automatically get the citizenship.
No, they changed that in the 60s, I guess. It used to be like that back in the day, but they changed it. But when I turned 18, I actually got a letter from the government asking me if I wanted to be a Danish citizen. But then I had to relinquish myself of my Icelandic citizenship. So I said no, thank you. But like 5 or 6 years ago, they made it legal to have dual citizenships. So then I was like, hey, then I can do it now. But then it was like, oh, you have to pay this, you have to pay this, you have to pay this, and I have ADHD, so when I get money, I just it's gone.
It's gone, yeah.
Unless if I work all the time. So that's why I'm working like 24/7 at Mackey's. So when I eat at Mackey's every day, I don't spend any money. So I have a lot of money at the moment. But if I was, usually if I'm at home, I'm like surfing the web and I want that. I want that. Then I'll buy everything. But that was how I used to be. Now I'm green and all of that. So I buy secondhand clothing and try to minimize my consumption and stuff. It's very cheap to be green. You don't spend any money.
That's nice. That's nice. I'm actually in kind of the same situation because I'm a university student, and beside university, I have a student job, and I also work in a restaurant.
Oh,
So I know how it is. I'm also saving money in that way that I get food from the restaurant.
Where do you work?
I'm working as a dishwasher. I've been working there for 3 years already.
Where?
It's called Nordis Spisehus.
Never heard of it.
Spisehus.
Is it good?
It's in the city center. It's kind of like a posh restaurant, but I'm just washing dishes, but it's all right. I mean,
there is no such thing as I'm just. All all positions within a restaurant are basically equal value. I'm the head chef, but the place couldn't run without the dishwasher. The place couldn't run without a waiter. We're all on the same level basically, or equal importance. I might have more of a say in what we strategically do, like which direction we're gonna move the restaurant in, but without the dishwasher we can't do anything. So you go, yay.
Thank you. Yeah.
So Stefan, I'm quite curious about the vegan party, about numerous things, because when you say the vegan party in Denmark, I think a lot of people have this idea that you're only thinking about the animals, not eating meat and so forth. What about the daycare institutions, for example? Do you have an opinion about them?
Which part of the daycare institution? Because we have some what's it called? We have some issues regarding what we serve the people, the children in the thing, and how we treat the children. Because I think we should serve only plant-based foods, because we are in a climate crisis, and the municipality of Aarhus is the second largest buyer of groceries in Denmark, and if we really want to curb this crisis and try to stabilize the environment and the climate, we have to act green now. But that put aside, I think that I was a part of SF before, Socialist Folkeparti. So we want more NSET. What's the name? More people working in each institution, and the ratio of grown-ups to children should be higher. I don't know exactly what it is at the moment, but it's when my son was in the kindergarten some years ago, I remember there was a lot of times where they didn't have enough grown-ups, because then one kid was crying and then 5 or 6 other children were like, what do we do now? So we need more pedagogues in the daycare centers. And I also think that the idea that the Kristendemokraterne have with giving more freedom to the parents to take care of their own children and get a tax relief or something like that, or get paid to take care of their own children, is a good idea. I know it will be socially skewed, where the richer parents have more of an opportunity to take care of their own kids and stuff. But I still think it's very important for the development of children that they can that if the parents can take care of their own children. I'm also against the ghetto loan, where you force parents to immigrant parents to put their children in daycare. I think it's the notion of forcing one ethnic group to do something and another ethnic group to not do something is inherently racist, and I don't really like the racist policies that much. But otherwise, plant-based foods in all the kindergartens and in schools as much as possible. I don't want them to serve the skolemælk is the most blatant example of corporate lobbyism in Denmark. It's Mejeriforeningen has been lobbying the government to keep this thing going on forever, and serving cancer promoting foods in schools should basically not be allowed. Yeah. Any other questions?
Can I actually reflect on what you said, because you were saying like a lot of things. You were talking about more pedagogue, and also about like the different food for the kindergartens. And in my point of view, my mother is a kindergarten teacher, and I very welcome the idea to have more kindergarten teachers and pedagogues, because this is the same situation. Like there's many children.
Exactly.
The amount of pedagogues.
And it's the same thing in like the hospitals. I know hospitals is a regional thing, not a municipality thing, but it's still very important that we get more nurses, and also in the elder care sector, and we need way more flødehænder. What's that in? more
people close to the citizen.
Yeah, exactly.
But then I'm curious, Stefan, if I can, Andras, I'm just curious whether you think the taxes should go up to be able to pay for this.
Yeah, so that's what I just wanted to point out, that in order to have more pedagogues, and there's some kind of source that they have to take up from.
Of course. I actually think that I don't mind that the taxes go up. I think we in Denmark, we have so much already, and we don't need as much money as we have at the moment. We can easily afford to pay a little bit more in taxes, but I really think that we should shift the tax burden from the workers and over to like corporations and on resource expenditure. So instead of taxing work, we should tax resources, and we should. I also think we have this tax in Denmark called moms. You know it, right?
Yeah.
Moms, value-added tax, basically.
VAT, and that's 26% in Denmark, as far as I remember.
It's
25.
Yeah, 25%.
Yeah.
I think it's outrageous that our value-added tax is so high, because value-added tax is a regressive tax, so it hits the bottom of the poorest among us the hardest. Like my father-in-law, he's an engineer. He makes a ton of money because he's an engineer, of course, but he doesn't buy like 10 times as much food as a person who is on the contanthjælp. So he pays proportionally far less in value-added tax, and he can afford to pay way more in taxes. But the poor single mother on welfare, she can't. So we should switch the tax burden from the poor and working class over to people who make a lot of money, or corporations. I know it's difficult to do because the corporations don't just move. Well,
yeah, exactly.
I know it's very hard.
Quite high in Denmark, the corporation tax.
Yeah, but this is something that we can't really do on our own, especially not in local politics. This is something we have to do on not even the national level. We have to do it on an international level to homogenize the tax code within the EU, and we need to make sure that all these loopholes where they can make a corporation here and then a holding corporation over here and then move all the things around. When I went to gymnasium, Handelsgymnasiet, high school, my teacher, he was teaching us how to, if you're going to make a company, you should first make a holding company, and you have to pay the 125,000 crowns to make it an APS. But then you can use those 125,000 APS money to create another company, and then you have a holding company who owns that company, then when you make the money, instead of paying income tax, you pay the corporate tax. It's way better than you could just use the blah blah blah. And people get taught this in fucking high school, and it's crazy that a high school student learns how to evade taxes, and it's completely legal. If I want to evade taxes as a private citizen, I can't. But if I make a company and I make a lot of fucking money, I can, have a holding company in fucking Luxembourg or something, and, evade all the taxes. But I still get the free daycare. I got my university degree paid for. If I get sick, I get cancer treatment, whatever. But it just baffles me that it's illegal. It's another example of corporate lobbying run amok again.
But what if you need for these expenditures, like having more pedagogues, for example, and this is just only one. You need more expenditure from the government, and you are planning to finance it from raising up corporation tax. But how would you be able to avoid that companies would just flee away from Denmark and go to other countries, like safe havens?
Well, they are already in the safe havens. They are. The only companies who aren't using all the tax loopholes are those who are physically unable to do so, like the local carpenter. He can't really do. He doesn't have the know-how, and the plumber, he doesn't have the know-how. All the companies who can do it, they already do it. So we're not gonna have more companies that are gonna move their taxes to other countries, because all of them already do it. But we have to crack down on it now, and we have to do it quick, and we can't do that in the local elections, sadly. So I can't really do anything about it. But when and if I become a Danish citizen, and if I decide to run for Folketinget, the parliament, then I can do something about it. But I really think that tax law is something we need. It's not something we can do on a national level either, because most of the corporations are multinational. The free market we have isn't really all that free. Most of the companies are owned by 2 or 3, 4 conglomerates who own everything anyway. Yeah. It's difficult. It's difficult when corporations have more wealth and more power than nation states. Then we have to rely on this, the European Union and stuff like that to fix it.
But can you find actually another way besides working together as European Union to have one system of corporation tax? Because I think that's the only way.
I think that's the most plausible way to do it. But we could also, we could create tax law in Denmark that said, well, you can't move your revenue out of the country. We can close the tax loopholes. I'm not a tax loophole expert, so I can't really get specific. But when the government, they have the economists working for them, they could easily find the loopholes and change the loopholes. It would be quick to do that, but the issue is that we have basically legalized bribery in the Western world by campaign contributions and erhvervsklubber and all that. So yeah, lobbying is the issue here, basically.
Yeah. My father works in the Hungarian tax system, Skat, but in Hungarian, and his job used to be now he's already a pensioner, but his job used to be to find these holes in the tax system and fill it up. So it's not just one solution that after that everything is going to be fine, but several solutions.
Of course, because every time you patch up one hole, they'll find another one. But one of the issues is that some of these tax loopholes have deliberately been put there because of pressure from lobbying groups. it's not as big of an issue in Denmark as it is in like the United States. In the United States, they have it's the corporation who write the bills and give it to the politicians, and they bring them forth to the in the Senate and stuff. We don't have that as much in Denmark. We have a little bit with Landbrug and Fødevare. They sometimes help write bills and stuff. That's also the most powerful lobbying organization we have in Denmark. But
this is actually, I think it's true in general, regardless of the country, that if there's a company or there's like a certain group with a certain interest that is having very, very lot of capital, then it's going to undermine the system, the tax system.
Exactly.
Stefan, can I ask you? You talk a lot about lobbying, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you tell me about the difference between trying to get influence?
Well, trying to get influence is basically lobbying. But the difference between a regular citizen trying to get influence and a corporation sending armies of lobbyists to persuade a politician to do their bidding, basically, is that they have money is speech, and if you have a lot of money, you can. There was this, I think it was Venstre. They had this erhvervsklub, basically a club for companies. They paid 15 or 20,000 crowns cash. Probably not cash, but they paid 15 or 20,000 crowns, just below what you have to tell people about. And then the companies, they had access to ministers to talk to them about anything. So if you had 15,000, you paid 15,000, then you could go and talk to the minister of taxes or some other minister. That's basically bribery, but it's legal in Denmark. It's legal in most of the Western world, sadly. And probably all the parties do it, every single one of them, except Enhedslisten and maybe us. But the only reason we're not doing it is because nobody's gonna give us any money anyway. So I'm not gonna sit here on my high horse. Okay, I'm vegan, so I don't have a high horse anyway. But I'm not gonna sit here on my high horse and say, "Hey, we're not gonna do it because nobody's even gonna give us the money." But Enhedslisten, they don't do it. They give out the names of everybody who gives above 5,000 instead of the 20,000. I think. So they're the good guys, besides us, of course. But yeah.
I actually have a question about this. That do you think that if you will be like raising more capital as the party, would you do these kind of small tricks in order to survive? And are these tricks required to survive in the Danish political system?
This is a difficult question to answer because it's like. I would. My heart says no. Of course, I wouldn't. But it's like I wouldn't want to. It's hard. I don't think I would. Like we had this discussion internally in the party. If we because last. You have, if you get over 20,000 crowns from one individual or a company, you have to tell it to the government and they post it so everybody can see. If you are a party that's registered and has is allowed to be on the ballot. So, but last year we got enough votes to get on the ballot, but we only had to. Tell who gave us money from the 1st of January. So from August till December, we could have gotten 1 million or 2 million or 3 million from an individual and not tell anybody. And we had this discussion, should we do this? And some people were like, well, there are a lot of rich people who sympathize with the green agenda and stuff, but they don't want to be associated with the vegan party. So maybe we should try it. But then there was the other part of us, like me, was that, well, no, then we would just basically be doing what everybody else is doing. We're here saying, hey, Lend won't feel, they're bribing our politicians, they're doing this, doing that, and then are we gonna do it? And then it ended up being like, no, of course we're not gonna do it. Of course we're not gonna take bribes, even though it wouldn't be a quid pro quo bribe per se, but still, if somebody hands you 100,000 crowns and then later there's we're gonna vote on a law that it's gonna fuck his business up, then he's gonna be like, hey, I gave you 100,000 crowns. And then we'll be like, well, maybe we should be nice to him because he might be nice to us later. That's a conflict of interest. And of course, we're not going to do that because, we want to save the climate, save Denmark, basically, save our children's future, and we want to save the animals. And I don't want to, be beholden to some rich guy who just thinks about his bottom line, basically.
Yeah, but I think it's pretty much expected that if someone donates like 100,000 Danish krone or even 1 million Danish krone, then he or she wants something in return.
Exactly, and that's why I think that we, in the perfect world, all election would be publicly financed, and political campaign donations from individuals or companies should be illegal. That would be the best thing for our democracy by far, but that's not the reality we're in. So of course we've gotten campaign contributions from people. A friend of mine, he's been giving a lot. He earns a decent living, not extravagant, but he lives cheap. He has a car. He has been working since he was 18. So, and he doesn't really use any money. So extra money he has goes to Red Barn, the Red Cross, or the vegan party. And so we of course get some donations, but not nearly as much as.
Can I ask something like in percentage? What percentage of your donation, your party's donation, come from individuals, like regular people, and what percentage from companies?
I have no idea. I don't think we have gotten anything from companies yet. We have Naturli. You know about Naturli, right? They're a good friend of ours. They give us the milk and stuff. If we if I want to do a happening in the city center, I just then I call Henrik and say, hey Henrik, can I get some sausages because I want to do this and this? Then he'll probably say yeah. But he also does. They also do that for like we have this activist group called Vegan Change. If they want to do it, they can do it. They can also do it. And we have Dyrenes Alliance. They do it a lot, where they just write them an email and they send some food. But I don't think we have gotten any campaign contributions from companies yet. But I might be mistaken. I'm not privy to that information, but I can check.
And what do you think? How would your company react if let's say one day after the other, one company shows up and pays you like 10 million Danish krone and say it was like a gift, but please vote on something. If you get into
vote on something. I can't say for all the other people in the party, but I'll give you 10 million. You vote for this and that. That's actual bribery, and that would of course not be allowed.
It is happening every time in politics. Every time.
Yeah, but no, it's not happening that direct everywhere in politics. It's happening indirectly. But I would say no, but I'm not the party head, so But I wouldn't. I would rather have my integrity than getting 10 million crowns. But 10 million crowns is a lot of money. If I've been working since I was 15. I don't think I've earned anywhere near 10 million crowns. And I'm 34 now, almost. That's a lot of money,
To
though.
be honest,
a lot of money.
Like, well, in terms of corruption, Hungary is in a completely different level than Denmark. But like in Hungary, the prime minister's best friend is earning daily 10 million Danish crowns just because he's the best friend of the prime minister.
I know.
So in politics, it's not a lot of money at all.
Yeah, but
for some people, it's daily wage.
Yeah, but we don't have that level of corruption in Denmark yet. But we have a different kind of corruption. We have the lobbying power corruption, where companies they can dictate some level of policy. But I think that's more of a problem in the more established parties like Socialdemokratiet, Venstre, Conservative, and parties like that. I think parties on the fringe, especially the left-wing fringe, like Enhedslisten, Frie Grønne, Veganerpartiet, and Alternative, we don't even get offered that kind of money. So it's basically a non-issue. Basically.
Could I maybe ask a question, Stefan?
Of course.
I would love to hear something about your politics on internationals. I know that a lot of things are governed by the parliament, or the government, but what about locally? What do you believe should be done for the internationals in Aarhus?
Could you be more specific?
Well, how would you make sure that people stay after they take a university degree, for example? What about the job centers when people come here for family reunification and they come with a higher degree and then they meet the job center who thinks that maybe you should just go to do some temp work?
Yeah.
We don't need that. The education that you have, we need another thing from you.
Yeah, I know a couple of people who are internationals. I know this dude from India. He's actually taken a Danish degree at Copenhagen Business School, fancy university, and he's he's delivering Volt in Copenhagen at the moment. He has a master's degree in marketing, but he doesn't speak Danish, so nobody will give him a job. He actually got kicked out of the country last year, but a friend of mine who's a lawyer, he helped him stay. But I think it's ridiculous that we... this is going to sound kind of right-wing, but I don't mean it in a right-wing way at all. We spend a lot of money on educating internationals, a lot of money paying SU for them, and then when they're done with their education, we just strip them of their residency permits. It's crazy. I think if the job center should do anything at all, I think the job centers are. I would close all the job centers, to be honest, because the only thing they do is try to distress people the fuck out. Like, I think it's 70 or 80% of all people who get jobs. They don't get it through the job centers. The job centers just there for people to have work to do. It's just to have the whip and whip all the unemployed people. I'm totally against that. But if the job centers could serve any purpose, then it would be to help people who want to work to get a job. Especially internationals, that because internationals, it's a huge brain drain that we let people come here and take educations or come here with a university degree and then not use it. We should use our sparse resources we have for that to help people get match qualifications with the companies who need that qualification, because we have a lot of brilliant people in Denmark who could get good job but are delivering Volt or driving a bus or something like that. But that it's also because a lot of Danish companies, they discriminate when it comes to hiring people. If they see an international name, They just put it in a no pile without even reading it. It's sad, but yeah, we should really help the internationals get some work. But luckily, most of the internationals I know, they are working for at my establishment. But that's lower end, no qualifications needed jobs anyway.
I think it's not only sad, but it is against the common sense and the common will of Danish taxpayers, because one education here in Denmark, for example, I started education 5 years ago already, and I'm finishing my master's now. I guess it's around 1 million Danish kron, but the Danish state spent.
Yeah, probably, yeah. So what's your master's in?
I'm business intelligence, so it's analytics.
Exactly. That's something we really need, but we are squandering the talents of you, Andreas.
Yeah, but if the Danish, so as of now, in the Danish educational system, they invite internationals. Internationals can get the education free, no matter whether it's needed for Denmark or not, because there's many university degrees that are simply not needed for Denmark, and there's no way to get a position for. But those people also get invited to Denmark to study that particular thing, and study it for 4 or 5 years. The Danish state spend them 1 million Danish kron, and for that money, because they will never get a job with that degree as if they are internationals, the Danish taxpayers will never get back that 1 million Danish crowns.
Probably not.
Never.
Probably not. Unless if someone creates jobs for that specific sector.
But I don't think it's a good idea to create fake jobs, because
I'm
exactly with these job centers, those are also fake jobs. I'm pretty sure about that.
I'm not saying we should create fake jobs, but if people are educating, if we're educating a lot of people in a specific area, and we have a lot of really qualified people in some form of IT tech or something, then a smart business person would create a business that needs those qualifications to function, and could utilize the amazing employees they could get in those people.
Yeah, but if you are a company, you are looking for talents, and you're looking for workers that whose knowledge can easily be transferred to be money. But there are some degrees in Denmark, especially philosophy, sociology, and so on. Those are not as much transferable.
True, but then again, we have everything shouldn't be about money. Basically, that's my opinion. I'm also for
I'm sounding right now as a right-wing person, but
we need more philosophers. We need more artists. We need a lot of those people. Almindelig dannelse is a Danish term. It's everything shouldn't be about squares. It should be more fluid. The things you learn in philosophy, and if you're
Brazilian studies.
Exactly. You can't use it for anything in the business world, basically. But I still think there is a value in giving people the opportunity to pursue their dreams, their what they love. I still see a value in that.
I think it's not only it's also a value within the culture. On the other hand, it is not pretty much transferable towards money.
No, not everything needs to be transferable towards money. Like more green areas in the city center is not something we're gonna make money on, but it enriches our society in another way than money. We have some spaces in Aarhus where like I think it's Stock Fem or something, where they're talking about building a skyscraper or something, and they're talking about etagemeter. Well, like everything shouldn't be about etagemeter. We should talk way more about quality of life, and more not always about money. I'm tired of this. We have to GDP growth. We can't have perpetual growth forever. We have to think. We have to shift the paradigm. We've lost our way as humans. We're not in touch with our human nature or the rock we're living on anymore. It's all about money and fame, and what's best for us. We're very anthropocentric. You know what that is, right? We see everything from the point of view of what's best for humans. We should be more ethnocentric. No. We should be more ecocentric. We should think more about what's good for the globe. Have a more holistic view on our policies. Like if we create more forests in Denmark, we're gonna lose money, because if we create naturnationalparker, national parks, where we can't grow any, we can't utilize the earth, the soil for farming, and we can't do logging and stuff like that, we're going to lose money. But everything isn't about money. There is an intrinsic value in nature that we can't monetize, but that's okay. We don't need to monetize everything. It's like, so what if my neighbor, she wants to do Brazil studies? I don't care if it makes her happy. I gladly pay my taxes so my neighbor can pursue her dreams. And so what if she gets a master or a PhD in Brazil studies and then ends up flipping burgers at McDonald's? If that makes her happy, she would fill her head with wonderful knowledge that enriches her in intellectual and a philosophical way, instead of enriching her pockets.
I completely agree with you, but on the other hand, I would not expect any Danish citizen or any Danish taxpayer to have internationals come into Denmark, do a degree here that they are paying, like not cheap, 1 million Danish krone, just to have their life, how they want to live, what they want to achieve. So we also
have a Danish taxpayer right here. I don't mind. but I'm also strange. I'm a humanist. I've always been a humanist. I believe that most people, it's like you've heard of universal basic income, right? I think it's an amazing idea. I know some people would probably stay at home and not work, but I don't mind, because most people want to work. People want to feel useful. We are a communal species. We like to help each other. We don't like being the one who needs help. We like to, contribute. And some people contribute in one way. Like my brother is an artist. He makes music. He makes a lot of things. He's never had a job, basically. But he creates art. His wife is an artist. She also creates art. They don't contribute anything, nothing whatsoever to the Danish economy, basically. But they contribute with something else. They help.
I think they contribute, but not like in terms of money, but in terms of culture. They have culture.
Yeah, exactly. And cultural capital is huge. It's not something we can, it's not something we see in the GDP or the GDI, or something like that, and it's something that the corporate sphere in Denmark hates. They hate that we have a rich culture life in Denmark, where if it was up to the corporations, we would have a 70-hour work week, and we should just work and sleep. You shouldn't have children, because if you have children, then you can't work. That's basically what the corporations want, and we should strive to have better lives, and better lives isn't how much money we have.
Stefan, I need to ask you one thing.
Yes,
money is quite nice to have if you want to live in Aarhus, because house prices
are very expensive,
skyrocketing, right?
Yeah.
So I was just wondering how you want to make sure you want more parks, less roads, and more people are moving to Aarhus. How do we want to make sure that you can live in Aarhus, like everyone can live in Aarhus, not only high intake people?
I think this is kind of controversial, but I don't mind that we build tall buildings, because Aarhus is I think it's 5,000 new residents every year, right? And we have basically two options. We could either build Aarhus bigger, and that would mean less forests, less wetlands, less nature. I don't like that. Or we could build up. And I think we should, of course, preserve all the parcelhuskvarter, all the low density residential areas we have, because that's also good. But I think we should have more apartment complexes, but strategically placed. And I think we should have way more almennyttige boliger. What's that in English?
Good question.
Yeah. Almennyttige boliger, that is housing where there is no profit motive.
Yeah.
Like, because where I live in one of Olav de Linde's buildings, and he builds buildings to make a shit ton of money, and that reflects in my rent. I have basically a 40 square meter apartment, and we pay 8,500. That's crazy.
Crazy. Yeah.
And I think we should in the plan law. I don't know what's the plan law in English. Well, in the building codes in Aarhus, in Denmark, the municipalities, they can say, if you want to build something here, you have to have at least 20% or 30% almennyttige boliger. So if Olav de Linde, he wants to build a big house, he has 20% of the apartments have to be almennyttige. So no profit motives for at least those. Yeah, but the rest he can charge like 10,000 for a small apartment. But in those, he only has to he can only charge what it costs to build and maintain. I think we should make a lot more of those kind of houses. Public housing, I think it's called in English. Way more public housing. And I think it's a travesty that we are demolishing perfectly good buildings in Gellerupplanen just because it's a ghetto. And even that we call it ghetto is crazy. Do you know what the difference is between a ghetto and a socialt udsat område? Do you know?
A ghetto is a completely different thing, of course.
In a socialt udsat område, 50% of the people, I think, have to be unemployed, and there has to be some form of some of them have to have a criminal record. I think it's 20% has to have a criminal record or something like that. The only difference between a socialt udsat boligområde and a ghetto is, in a ghetto, there's a 51% immigrants. Only difference, not even immigrants. If it was 51% Icelandics, it wouldn't be a ghetto. It has to be non-Western immigrants. It's institutionalized racism. It's it's government racism. It's horrific. It's deplorable. It's so messed up. And if it was up to me, we would scrap that. And if I lived in a socialt udsat boligområde and there was a lot of crime and nobody had a job and nobody wanted to move in, the government couldn't do anything. The buildings would be there. But if 51% of the populace was not Danish, then they could demolish all the buildings and give Ola de Linde or some other builder dude the permission to build and make a lot of money. It's so crazy. We need a lot of housing in Aarhus. It's only the last 2 years we have had enough housing for students. Before that, we had to have students living in fucking trailers all over the city. But it's just in the last few years we had enough housing for them, and then we're demolishing perfectly good buildings in Gellerupland. It's crazy.
I also almost ended up being living in that trailer.
And the worst thing is the housing in Gellerup is cheap. The Somali mother and the father with 3 or 4 children, they can live in Gellerupland on a contingent. When their buildings get demolished, and when we demolish their buildings, we have an obligation to find them new housing. And that's perfectly good. But the new housing is in new almennyttige boliger, and they're very expensive because the building codes have improved since then. Since the 70s when the others were built. So it costs more to build now than it did 30, 40, 50 years ago. And of course, that reflects in the rent. So they come from a house, an apartment that's like maybe 5,000 or 6,000. And now they have to get a similar housing in another part of Aarhus. Then there's 10,000. They can't pay 10,000. It's so crazy. It's a way to make sure that only the elite, the white ethno, it's basically creating a white ethno state in fucking Aarhus. It's messed up.
But I have a question, like what happened to those families who are not able to pay the new rent, which is increased?
Yep, they have to move.
They have to move to where? Out of Aarhus?
Exactly, out of Aarhus.
And
so,
yeah.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but we're close to 9 now. I think the last question now, Andreas. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No worries.
Okay, I have just 1 second.
Yeah, we
Okay.
want to close the animal agriculture industry. That's what we want to do because it's the most polluting industry we have in Denmark. It's the reason we can't have clean drinking water and all. What up?
Also, another point belongs to that. Are you aware that like a major percentage of the Danish GDP is dependent on like pig farms and the export of meat?
No. That's actually blatantly false.
It is false.
It is false. I think it's like the pig farming accounts for, I think it's less than 5% of the Danish GDP.
Yeah, actually, that's a lot.
No, less than. But the Danish pig industry is half of the country. Half of the country's landmass is producing pig meat. So 50% of Denmark is producing pig meat, but it's less than 5% of the economy. 50% of the land area. 50. Half. Half of Denmark is a pig farm, but it's less than so 50% makes up less than 5% of the economy.
I see, but
so it's not a big thing. We make way more on pharmaceuticals. We make way more on services. We make way more from oil.
But you cannot really compare those things because one is on the land, one is at the land, and the other one is on urbanized areas. So there's no make sense to make comparison.
I couldn't hear you because it was.
Yeah, I was saying that like pig farms are usually on the unurbanized areas like lands. But those that you were just pointing out, like services and medicine and IT, those are located in the city centers.
Yeah.
They are not competing with each other. So what you say is like basically let's close up those farms. I don't know what would happen to the farmers and the farmers' families, and let's forest there.
The farmers, they could do something else basically. But wait a minute, I'll just find the facts because we actually have a landbrugsudspil. Give me 2 seconds.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
I'll just find it because we have a dude. He worked in the Danish Ministry of something for 25 years. He's made all the wait a minute, landbrugsudspil. There it is. I hope. I don't want the presentation. I want the fucking PDF. I think I have it on my computer. Landbrugsudspil. There it is. Wait just 1 second. Economy. Can I share my screen? Actually, I can, right?
Yeah.
How do I do that?
You are the host, then you can. If you are not the host, then you can't.
Or you can ask for it if you're not the host. So I'm pretty sure that you can.
I will just read aloud. The farming in Denmark is less than 2% of the Danish GDP, and it was 20% 100 years ago. So it's gone from 20% to 2% in 100 years. So it's on a downward spiral, right?
Obviously, it's a downward. It's like all developed countries. Yeah.
But if it's instead of GDP, it's I'll read this in Danish if you can translate it. Landbrugets samfundsøkonomiske betydning målt i bruttoværditilvækst. You know, the GDI, I think it's called, is 1.2%. So it's 2% of GDP or 1.2% of our GDI, right? That's minuscule. And the money they make, if the money they make put set op imod, hvordan siger man det på det engelsk? Kan jeg ikke huske?
Compared to?
If you compare what they contribute to the Danish society to how much damage they do, like 33% of the fresh water in Aarhus is polluted because of animal agriculture. Most of our waters are polluted. If we continue like we do now, then all the drinking water in Denmark is going to be polluted. How much is the drinking water in Denmark worth? I would say more than 1.2% of GDP annually. And the craziest part is Aarhus, they have made this water protection thing where they want to phase out pesticides in Aarhus Kommune. That's a good thing. Today, Landbrug & Fødevarer, they came out and said, we want 120,000 Danish crowns per hectare farming area if we are forced to not use pesticides. They are basically holding our water source as ransom for 120,000 crowns per hectare. That's crazy.
Sorry to interrupt. I think Andres asked you if you're closing down all the farms in the rural areas.
We're only closing the animal farms.
Okay, but how about the people working there and the families? What to do?
They can. We want to help them change their production to plant-based alternatives. So we want to educate them and give them loans and help them economically to switch production away from the old ways, where we're the world champions in pig farming, and help them, guide them to a more sustainable and eventually more profitable plant-based farming. To produce pig meat, you have to produce a lot of vegetation, like a lot. But the same area you use for pig feed, you could produce something else. You could produce locally grown vegetables. You could produce oats that you can make into oat milk. And you can produce a lot of things on that area. And also some of that area that we now use for pig feed, we could make into nature reserves. Yeah, what up?
So correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I understood, like you would educate these kind of pig farmers and people working in this in the meat industry to focus on agriculture. But previously in the meeting, you pointed out that there's like a lot of land in Denmark that is already in agriculture, and you would welcome to have them as forests. Aren't those two sentences contradictory?
No, I wouldn't say so. Well, if a farmer has, let's say, 100 hectares, and he's using 80 of them for pig feed, and we say, hey, we should stop exploiting animals because it's bad for the environment, it's bad for human health, and it's bad for the pigs. So if we help you change your production to, let's say, produce potatoes and apples and all those kinds of things, and you now use 60% of your land for that, then maybe we can buy the 40% and make a forest. Then he still makes money, and we get more forests. We're not gonna force anyone to give up their land to make forest. We're gonna go the route of encouraging and giving incentives to the farmers to give out the land. We could actually use the farming subsidies from the EU to create more land, because we can actually shift some of that subsidy to help in reforestation and creating more wild nature. It's all in our agricultural udspil. I can send you the thing. I think we have it in English as well. Or if we don't, we are actually in the process of translating it.
That's nice. I would actually very welcome the idea of more forest. I'm also personally donated money like last week for an organization that I don't know the name of the organization, but it was like buy a given square meter of land.
Oh yeah, I saw it. They were in Aarhus the other day. I talked to them at Danmarks Naturfredningsforening, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I donated to them because I like the idea a lot. I like it. Yeah.
Exactly, but. The part about the farmers also on a principle. It's also just a matter of principle, because we don't have the right to exploit, mutilate, kill, rape animals. Of course we don't. And to talk about, well, think about the poor farmers. If they can't exploit the animals, what are they then gonna do? I just think it's crazy. It's of course we shouldn't let people make money by killing sentient beings for pleasure. You know, it's people eat meat for simple sensory pleasure that lasts 5, 10, 15 minutes at most. And for those, that 15 minutes of joy for the human, it's a lifetime of suffering for the animals, and a lifetime of suffering for the for the nature, because we have almost no nature in Denmark anymore. Most of the nature is privately owned forests where they cut down the trees for forestry and making money. We don't have any nature in Denmark, sadly. I would love to live outside the city, but if I live outside the city, I live next to a fucking farm. And next to a fucking farm, it smells. They put manure on everything, and it sucks. I want to live in nature. I don't want to live. I don't want to live in a pig factory. Bottom line, and I don't think most people do, because the only thing it does, it pollutes the environment, it messes up our health, and it's bad for the animals. And it's economically, it doesn't make sense. We use so many resources to produce a little bit of resource. If we just took all the resources over here and just used them, then we could feed a lot of more people, and we could have way more nature. It's just, yeah.
I'm just gonna stop you guys because I think you can continue on the whole night. Thank you so much. It's been so interesting listening to you. And to you, Stefan, muito obrigada. Eu adorei escutar você falar sobre o seu político.
Vale. My Portuguese is very bad. I was there in 2004, so that's
me too.
Yeah, but I was like 17 back then, and you were like 12, right?
Thank you so much. You just gained some points.
That's a compliment.
I learned a lot of Portuguese when I was in Brazil, but then I came to Denmark and I had Spanish instead in high school, and that was also fun. But then I started English, and then I was more English speaking. I was thinking about doing Spanish or Brazil studies, but then I thought, hey, I need to make money because I can't get a job with Brazil studies.
Well, I did Brazilian studies and I actually found a job. I'm just saying.
You're the exception that confirms the rule, right?
Well, I know a lot of people that got jobs afterwards. So.
Exactly. But maybe if you couldn't be Danish, then you couldn't find this job. Who knows?
Actually, that's true. If your name wasn't Louise, but was, I don't know, Adele Tovolgi, then you wouldn't have gotten a job.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I actually have a foreign name as well, so I'm married to a foreigner. So.
Yeah, but that's a French is name.
Portuguese, but yeah.
but it's Western. It's crazy because we have white privilege in Denmark. We have and also pretty privilege. Like at my work, we have in the kitchen. There's not a single Dane in the kitchen. Our dishwasher is Danish. Otherwise, everyone.
That is actually an opposite society. Exactly. For a normal restaurant, everyone is Danish.
I'm Icelandic. We have a Kurdish Iraqi. We have Mozambican. We have one from Tallinn. We have Italian in the kitchen. But all the waitresses are women, white, Danish, and good looking. It's crazy, but that's the name of the game, sadly, and it's also how it functions most other places. It's sad. Like when I go to Føtex, it's almost all white Danes who sit at the register, young, pretty girls sitting at the register. But in Netto, where they don't have semi-racist hiring policies, we have the Middle Eastern boys and the women with scarves, and it's crazy that some most places they discriminate so much. I've never ever seen a woman in a headscarf in Føtex. Never.
This is actually what you say is very true, but as an interesting point, isn't like both companies are called like Danish supermarkets, then supermarket, the same organization.
Yeah, but the difference is that Netto has a different market segment from Føtex. Føtex is more high end. It's like in selling super, it's also just at least white passing people. But in like the lower end supermarkets, it's everybody can get a job. It's crazy. It's because they also have to do it because the politicians have been hammering the notion that well, if you have a scarf, then you're not Danish, and if your name is Muhammad, then you're a bad guy. It's crazy, and we need to change it. And the only way we change it is to get rid of the status quo. We have to get people like Sikander Siddiq. His party should get some votes. The vegan party should get some votes. Alternative, Enhedslisten, instead of Nye Borgerlige and Dansk Folkeparti, and even Socialdemokratiet are also basically become Dansk Folkeparti. I remember when I was young that what's his name, Poul Nyrup, he said Dansk Folkeparti will never be housebroken, but then 10, 20 years later they're copying the immigration policies of the party that was the most right-wing party in Europe 15 years ago. It's crazy. Now we have Marie Le Pen in France, and we have Geert Wilders in Holland, and neo-Nazis marching in Germany. It's crazy. The right wing in Europe is exploding, and we have to fight it. We really do. But I'm sadly not in the anti-racist party like Frie Grønne. We are anti-racist, but we are also anti-speciesist. So we don't discriminate on race, gender, like Frie Grønne, but we also have the other one. We don't discriminate on species. I think that I would rather protect the habitat of some, I don't know, salamander than giving Ola de Linde a couple of more millions to make. Even though the couple of more million he makes, it's going to be good for the taxes. I don't care. I really don't care. I think there's more to life than taxes and money and some old dude getting richer. I'm sick of it.
Stefan, I'm sure that we could talk the whole night.
And
but I have one last kid to tuck in, so I have to leave at least the session. But it's been really great having you guys. Thank you so much.
Very, very great. Thank you so much.
This was fun. When do we do it again?
We should meet again one time.
But hey, Andres, I'll send you an email with the Landbrugsudspil. I'll just check if we have it in English. If not, then I can Google translate the shit.
I am actually very interested about that because I also heard, not just in Denmark, but like also during my studies, like I studied economics, that the huge part of the Danish GDP is part of like pig farms and meat industry.
Yeah, but the reason they say that is because in Denmark they lump it all together in something they call fødevareklyngen. Have you heard that expression before?
No.
Fødevareklyngen is basically pig farms plus everything around it that makes money off or with pig farms. So like transporting the pig meat. That's a part of pig meat. When they produce sausages out of pig meat, that's also extra. But you can make sausages of everything. I eat sausages all the time. You don't need meat to make sausages. Fødevareklyngen is everything that makes food, basically. Like when they produce mink feed, out of discarded egg-laying hens. That's a part of fødevareklyngen. Feeding mink isn't a part of the pig industry, but it's lumped together with the pig industry to, so when they buy stuff from other people, that of course, because GDP is just a measure of how much money is spent. So if pig farmer A, he buys something from someone, and then that someone buys something from him, and they buy front to back, then every time they spend money, the GDP rises. So GDP is actually not a very good measure of how much money we're making. That's why we in the Vegan Party use the BNI, GDI.
Stefan and Andreas, I'm just going to say, I'm going to get out of your meeting and you just continue, okay? You take care, and I'm just going to log out.
It was also